welcome to ERi-TV English News Broadcast. It's now exactly 10:30 p.m. Asmara time and we are ready for a domestic and international report for 27 April 2026. To begin with, I present you the top stories. Seminars in connection with International Workers' Day conducted in the Northern Red Sea region. Voluntary blood donation conducted in Eritrea subzone. In our international, Iran's supreme leader orders Strait of Hormuz not to return to pre-war status. And global military spending hits record $2.9 trillion in 2025. Welcome again. In today's domestic report, the National Confederation of Eritrean Workers branch in the Northern Red Sea region organized seminars for workers from various institutions in connection with International Workers' Day. The seminars conducted in the subzones of Massawa and Ginda under the theme Workers' Organization Motivator for Development, mainly focused on productivity. At the seminars, Mr. Tasfit Hagos, an industrial policy expert, gave a detailed briefing on productivity and its measurement, including a productive mentality among workers, as well as enhancing the vocational and productivity capacity of workers. Noting that boosting productivity elevates competitiveness and that increased productivity by individuals and institutions benefits society and the country, Mr. Tasfit called for increased investment in enhancing the capacity and productivity of workers. Underlining the significance of the seminar in motivating workers to boost productivity, Ms. Fatna Mohammed, head of social services in Ginda subzone, called for the sustainability of the seminar. The participants on their part called for organizing training programs with a view to enhancing the capacity of workers as well as encouraging outstanding workers. Moving on to the southern region, during a campaign conducted from 22 to 25 April aimed at enhancing the blood supply of the National Blood Transfusion Service, over 660 units of blood were collected in Eritrea subzone. Mr. Mahari Abraham, head of blood donation service at the National Blood Transfusion Service, said that 386 units of blood were collected from the Eritrea College of Education and Language and 280 units from Eritrea Secondary School and government workers. Commending the initiative taken by the voluntary blood donors, Mr. Mahari said that prior to the program, active awareness-raising activities had been carried out among students and government workers. Mr. Burhan Akhlilu, head of promotion at the National Blood Transfusion Service on his part, said that the initiative taken by the students and youth attests to increased awareness and called on others to follow the noble example. The residents of Sheib-Seleba administrative area in Al-Abarid subzone reported that the social service provision institutions put in place in their area are significantly contributing to the improvement of their livelihoods. The residents indicated that before independence there were no social service provision institutions in the area, and that after independence, educational, health and potable water projects have been put in place. Indicating that previously they had been compelled to travel 12 to 34 kilometers to get educational and healthcare services, the residents said that they are now able to access social services near their area. Mr. Msgina Tesfa Mikhail, administrator of the administrative area, said that the social service institutions put in place are providing commendable health and electricity services, as well as educational services ranging from preschool to high school. Sheib-Seleba administrative area is one of the 14 administrative areas in Al-Abarid subzone and is located 12 kilometers north of Aden town. This wraps up our domestic news for this session, dear viewers. So do stay tuned, for we shall be back with the international ones after the short break. Welcome back. Our international news begins with the crisis in the Middle East. Iran's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has explicitly ordered that the Strait of Hormuz must not return to its pre-war status, according to a report by Iran's news agency. Iran declared that the Strait of Hormuz is a vital national resource and it has the right to regulate, restrict or block commercial vessels passing through. The country has developed a comprehensive plan where all vessels and ships navigating within this area must obtain permission from Iran, adding that sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz will be entirely under Iran's control, with Israeli vessels being absolutely prohibited from crossing the area. The supreme leader also urged neighboring Gulf countries to make the correct judgment and remain vigilant against the caught false promises. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Said Abbas Araghchi has concluded his trip to Pakistan, which he described as very fruitful. He said he had shared Iran's position on a framework for permanently ending the war. On the other hand, U.S. military forces continue to enforce U.S. sanctions and fully implement the blockade against entering or departing Iranian ports, according to a statement from the U.S. Central Command. In response to Trump's announcement, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned that any threat against the security of the Strait of Hormuz have large-scale consequences for global trade. Meanwhile, global oil prices surged, climbing from previous lows to around $107 per barrel. In another news, global military spending climbed to nearly $2.9 trillion in 2025, marking an 11th straight year of growth as rising insecurity and armament boosted defense budgets. This is according to international reports. The United States, China and Russia accounted for $1.48 trillion, over half of the global expenditure. The United States spent $954 billion, 7.5% less than in 2024, largely because no new financial military aid to Ukraine was approved. By contrast, Washington pledged a total of $127 billion to Kyiv over the previous 3 years. The main driver of the global increase was Europe, including Russia and Ukraine, where spending surged 14% to $864 billion. Germany, the fourth largest spender, raised its expenditure by 24% to $114 billion. The ongoing war in Ukraine since 2022, along with conflicts and instability in the Middle East, were highlighted as major drivers of this rise in defense budgets. Analysts warn that growing global conflicts and insecurities could push military spending even higher in 2026. In today's final report, China has imposed sanctions on more than 7 European Union companies. The country explained that this decision was in response to the EU's nearly 20 rounds of sanctions against Russia, which it said unfairly targeted its commercial entities. The EU announced sanctions on 16 companies from China, the United Arab Emirates, Belarus, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, citing their involvement in supporting Russia. Observers note that these reciprocal sanctions could further strain trade relations between China and the European Union. China also warned the United States, saying that Washington's restrictions on Chinese trade ties pose risks to global economic stability. This move was described as a continuation of measures taken after President Donald Trump's earlier sanctions on one of the largest Chinese oil companies. China stated that its response would be balanced and proportional, signaling that countermeasures are likely. With this, we conclude our domestic and international report for this session. Dear viewers, now the top stories once more. Seminars in connection with International Workers' Day conducted in the northern Red Sea region. Voluntary blood donation conducted in Eritrea subzone. Iran's supreme leader orders Strait of Hormuz not to return to pre-war status. And global military spending hits record $2.9 trillion in 2025. This was The World on Monday with ERi-TV English News Broadcast. Viewers, from all of us here, thank you for watching. Join us again on our tomorrow's broadcast. Until then, stay well.